Hello, we're back with the masterclass. Now we're gonna have someone very special for us, the founder of Miami Fashion Week. Um, as a woman, I'm very proud of this kind of woman who achieve these important goals for all of us. So please, Beth, can you tell us your story?
My story. That's what I understand I'm here to tell you about. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon and muy buenos tardes. Okay, well, I started my career in fashion as a runway model. I went to modeling school when I was 19. I went through a 6-month course in 2 weeks. They put me on the runway and I started working. Some of my first clients were all the stores, Saks Fifth Avenue, back then Jordan Marsh, other stores like this, Neiman Marcus. We did all the designer collections. I worked here locally in Florida, South Florida, for a couple of years. And during one of these Saks shows, in the same week, I actually met 2 designers from Paris. And a month later, I found myself on a plane going to Europe. And I thought I would go to Italy for the month before, to just try that out. I had a girlfriend that had gone, said it was wonderful. And I thought I would go for a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, do these 2 shows, see what else I could find. And I came back about 20 years later. So it actually went very well. I have some wonderful friends, still my friends from all over the world that I met. We would all gather in Paris. We'd do the shows in Paris, went down to Milan, go down to Rome, go to Florence. I lived in Florence for about a year. I lived in Paris for about 12 years. I lived in Tokyo for 6 months, lived in New York for a while. And we'd all meet in different places. So from Paris to Milan to London to Germany, back to Tokyo, over to New York, go back to Paris, next season starting. So it was a lot of fun. It was my way of traveling the world. I also did the shows in Madrid, in Spain. So it's really a great way to travel and see the world. And then from there, I got married to a Venezuelan. We moved to Geneva, Switzerland, where my daughter was born. Then we came back to Florida. Then we moved to Caracas, where my son was born. And then I came back with my 2 children, and that was about 18 years ago. And when I returned as a single mother at that point, I thought, well, what am I going to do? I thought, well, maybe I'll open a modeling school, maybe, I don't know. My old modeling clients found out that I was back, that I had come back to Florida, and they started calling and wanted me to model for them again. I was like, no, I don't want to model anymore. They said, well, why don't you produce our shows? I thought, okay, I can do that. And after working for 20 years with the world's top designers, choreographers, directors, music, DJs, all of these people, you start to learn some things. And I was never a smoker, so I didn't smoke. All the other models smoked. So I was inside talking to the lighting guy and to the sound guy and to the choreographers and hanging out with them while the other girls are outside smoking. So that was a big way that I learned the business. It's just by osmosis. You can't do something for 20 years and not learn something. So I said, okay. So I started Sobol Fashion Productions. And with that, my first clients were Chanel, Escada, Fendi, St. John, all the malls, all the fashion magazines, all the foundations, all the charities. Anybody I had ever worked for as a model became my new production clients. So that was a great way to enter into a new industry because I didn't even realize I had a whole database of clients. And within the first couple of months, I was asked to I was asked to model in a show in Guayaquil, Ecuador. I had never been to Ecuador. And I was asking a lot of questions because I wasn't going to go unless I had my questions answered. And then they said, well, why don't you produce our show? I said, okay, I can do that too. So it was a 2-day event for live television. One day was pret-a-porter, one day was couture. And the organization had 21 designers from 12 Latin American countries. After 15 days with these guys, they all wanted to come back to Miami. Nobody knew how. 2 years later, I launched the first Miami Fashion Week and brought them all up. So I've had, thank you. So my first special guest was Carolina Herrera. Now one of our icons in the fashion industry. My first new star in fashion was Angel Sanchez, who is now a huge designer. And I actually met Angel while I was living in Caracas. He's from Venezuela. And one of my girlfriends used to have her dresses made by him, and she took me to her fitting one day. And he was a young designer, just starting out, but he was already a star in Caracas. Next thing I knew, he had packed his bags and gone to New York. A couple of hard knocks on the doors. He learned some lessons, came back, did a new collection, and went back to New York. And he's been there for 20 years. So you have to learn as you go. You have to listen to people. You have to take their advice. In my case, it's only been very helpful, and as it was with Angel, because he was going to see buyers that were telling him, well, don't do it like this, do it like that. He ran back to his factory and did it again and came back, and it worked. So with that, the first year we had 25 designers from about 15 countries, 70 international media, and about 500 guests in the audience. I had gotten one sponsor who gave me the $400,000 that I needed to start that event. And then the next year, the designers asked we move it out to Miami Beach. So I found myself putting up big tents, like 600-foot tents. You can land an airplane in these tents. The flooring, it was like a beautiful building, chandeliers, carpeting, everything. We did the event in tents on the beach for a while. Then we got bigger. Then I needed a different location. We moved out to Wynwood for a while. And now for the last 4 years, I found myself in Miami Beach. And that is through the help of my first business partner. It was Aaron Perry, a very successful entrepreneur and businessman here in Miami Beach. Was the first one to really, because I had been doing this event by myself, just so you know. I had outsourced and subcontracted my friends in the industry, my art director, the guy who runs my website, my accountant, an attorney, things like this. But my office has always been in my house, and it still is. Because as a single mother, it was the only way I was able to raise 2 children and work full-time, which full-time for me is 24/7. You know, it never stops. Because we have designers coming from all over the world, they're all in different time zones. So midnight for us is 9 o'clock in the morning someplace else. So I found myself sending emails midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, then when I go to bed and get up, I have my answers. So this is how that whole process has worked. But as I said, you know, Aaron, I met him at a Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce event, random meeting. He found out what I was doing, took some interest in it, and realized the pot of gold that I was sitting on with this event. I needed help. So he jumped in, moved us into Miami Beach Convention Center, put a lot of muscle and weight in his connections under the event. 3 years later, brought in new partners, and you can see where we are today. So for about 12 years, I did the event on my own. And then I can tell you, having partners is a great thing because it allowed for the expansion and the growth of the event. And this is our last day of the 16th annual Miami Fashion Week. And we've had a wonderful week so far. We have about 70 designers from 25 different countries with us. Everyone has been very happy. We've been live streaming with our partners at Taylor.com. All the press is here. The world is here.
Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Fashion Week. ¿Cómo estás todo?
Oh my God.
Hello. Hello again, Beth. How are you?
Yeah,
So much.
Well, ella es Beth Sobol. Yo les estaba hablando antes que si hay una mujer de la que se tenga que hablar cuando se habla de Miami Fashion Week es precisamente de ella. Ella es la presidenta de Miami Fashion Week y es una mujer que además a mí me ha encantado porque lo ha definido como el Sweet 16, o sea, esos dulces 16 porque es la 16ª edición. Y a mí me encantaría conversar con ella y preguntarle qué ha significado esto. It was absolutely incredible, okay? You define it like the Sweet 16, the most relevant names in global fashion, but you should be proud of what we have here today. What is your balance of this first day?
Well, this is a wonderful start
Absolutely.
and kickoff
Absolutely.
to our 16th year of Miami Fashion Week. And we've worked very hard. We have some wonderful new partners who have come from all over the world, and we have 70 designers from 25 countries here with us this week. So it's been a very, very exciting and positive week for everybody. And with the growth of the event, the future of Miami Fashion Week is in the interactive world. Because you can have 600-700 people in your audience, but at the end of the runway are millions. And people are watching Miami Fashion Week this year on their phones, on their computers, at home, wherever, because we are everywhere. And that's what the reach of the new world of fashion is going interactive. And the bloggers, let me tell you about bloggers. A couple of years ago, I had so many bloggers, it's like, what, a blogger, what? I don't even know what it is. Now, those bloggers are front and center, because they are the ones who are telling the world what is going on. And our social media is exploded.
A fashion blogger is someone that specializes in fashion and style expert through the mainstream of internet. Everything they post is through the internet, and they're able to express that.
Trying to get the everyday fashion trends and making it your own and having your own personal style behind it.
And we girls and guys who love to style and love to talk about it, put it together on our social media or on our websites and share it with you.
I think just being in love with fashion is basically makes you something that will make you want to be a fashion blogger.
We set ourselves out to just share fashion and what we like and make it for people to find it and have it available for them as well.
You just go online, check, and then be like, hey, look, I have this piece in my closet that kind of looks like what this girl's wearing, and then you can kind of just play with it and then make it your own, but you get an inspiration out of it.
My website, Maria Leon Style, covers a wide range of topics. Lifestyle generally. For me, it's very important to talk about other things, not only what I wear.
We're just very creative people who want to share what we like with the public, with whoever wants to know about us and what we find interesting in fashion.
But all in a good way. Because that's exactly what we're here to do, and that's what we provide our designers. We work with some of the best emerging designers from around the world and our superstars. You know, we have some wonderful designers here with us this week. Agatha Ruiz de la Plata, whose show is tonight. An old story about Agatha, I modeled for her in Madrid. And I brought a picture from that show in 1985. I showed it to her this week. And she was like, oh, she couldn't believe it. She remembered exactly when she saw the picture. She knew the collection, she remembered me as the model, she remembered everything. So it was very sweet and sentimental to have me on this side of the business now instead of as her model.
With that, we'd like to recognize her. Thank you.
One of the best things of that fashion show is that I realized that this wonderful Beth has been a model of one of my favorite fashion shows in Madrid in the 80s, whose name was Agatha for President, and she was one of the top models of my show. Thank you so much for inviting me.
But what can I say? You know, with the growth of everything, you can see our new website and all the incredible interactive minute-by-minute changes that are going on this website. We have the schedule up. We have all the ticketing, the competitions. We've been running competitions on our website for emerging designers and student designers as well. We run it for about 6 months, and we have emerging women's wear designer, menswear designer, jewelry designer, handbag designer. Then we have the student women's wear, student photography, fashion photography, and graphic artists. And they submit everything through a special portal that we have on the site. They have to have their credentials, we're very big about education, and having a lot of education within the fashion industry, because you do need it. I have judges for every different category, a professional judge in that industry. Then we make the choices, and we're all announced here. But we've had the kids fly in from Poland, from Argentina, from Costa Rica, the ones that were the finalists, and the winners. And then we present them with their awards and scholarship when they're here. But with the Miami Fashion Week Foundation is also something that I created, I guess, the second year. So that was probably in 2000. We did the first Miami Fashion Week in 1999. And Carolina Herrera is actually the one that suggested we do this, to create a foundation that would help promote the Latin American fashion designers as international instead of folkloric. Because that's what they were being viewed at. Latin America is still a third world country, all of them, countries. But they're growing and expanding and have some wonderful designers. They just don't have the resources as the European designers do. I mean, fashion was created in Italy. It was created in France, in Spain. So the Latin Americans are catching up, but they're doing an incredible job. And the event actually started as strictly a Latin American designer event, but then they asked me to open it up because they wanted to meet their counterparts around the world. Which is what we did. And I was starting to get requests from designers all over the world to be in the event. And I said, well, was your grandmother from Latin America? Did you have any Latin roots? And then, we just said, everybody's come, everybody's welcome. So, and now, again, we've got 70 designers from 25 countries this year. And it's the biggest fashion week we've had. I usually hold in around 50, 55 designers. We have 70 this year. And the new look of our runways and our fashion theater has been spectacular and very well received. We have a lot of new talent and people that have been helping us with the production aspects of it, all from Italy and Spain this year. And I have been the producer, director, do it all, say it all for all these years. And this year I got to take off my headset and sit front row at a few of my shows. And it was such a pleasant relief. And the shows were perfect. I thought, Sergio gets to put that headset on now, and I don't get to mess up my hair anymore. The biggest designers in Latin America, in Colombia, and other parts were coming here in Fashion Week. Beautiful collections that fit nobody but the model they sewed it on. So then I said, okay, we need to start supporting education here. And that's when the foundation, the Miami Fashion Week Foundation, came into play. And also, just let me back up 1 second, none of these guys had email. So I was FedExing packages all over. By the next year, year number 2, if they didn't have an email, I wouldn't talk to them. They said, I can't do this anymore. You guys have got to get online. So they got online. They got emails, and they started working that way. And so it's the educational process of helping a lot of these designers work through, becoming into, the communication world. But when you sell to a U.S. buyer, going back to the fit issue, and if it doesn't fit, or if it's not the right thing, they will send it back. And that's costing you money as a designer. I had one buyer tell me, a buyer from Fort Lauderdale had bought something from one of my designers, ordered it in black. The designer sent it in red. She sent it back. So I ordered it in the other color. He said, no, I think it looks better in this color. She didn't order that color. She ordered the other color. So you have to listen to your buyer. Another one shipped their merchandise on a boat. 6 months later, they get the merchandise. The boat, I don't know where the boat went. But these are small things that you think you're saving money, but in fact you're not, you're hurting your business. So it's these little things that over the years we just kept going over and talking, and I developed our business seminar, that we have here every year. And I have wonderful speakers that have been with me all these years. Mercedes Gonzalez from Global Purchasing Group in New York. She's the president of this company, which is a buying office that represents over 200 stores between North and South America. Now, she is also the guest speaker at every trade show in the world. From Shanghai to Magic in Vegas, you name it, she's the keynote speaker. And this woman can sell out a stadium. So she comes here and she gives 2 seminars for us. on retail relations, with the buyers, because she is a buyer. She knows what she needs, and she knows what she wants, and she knows what she expects from a designer. And then we have an attorney, Lenny Feldman. He's a principal at Sandler, Travis, and Rosenberg. He comes in and speaks on the logistics, the legal issues, the labeling, all of these things that you don't even know you need to know when you start trying to sell internationally. And the designers leave these seminars with eyes wide open because they're like, they didn't know. So we're trying to help educate the world as well, the world of fashion, these new designers coming up. And the whole point of Miami Fashion Week is to introduce the best emerging designers from around the world into the U.S. market. We do that through the press and through the buyers program that we have here. We had about 200 buyers attend the event this week. And they're here to find the next big thing. And that's the important part of the educational process. The designers I spoke about before didn't go to school. They were creative people. So they just took their creativity and tried to start a business. But with that, they made mistakes that ended up being costly mistakes. And that's when I realized that the world of fashion is wonderful and creative and we all love it, but you need your education too. You need to learn how to do these things. You need to learn how to run a business. Just so you can make a dress, you need to know how to run your business too. And I met Julian when he was just graduating, young designer from Peru, really talented, very focused, and he's a perfect example of a student went through the program at your school. It's the Miami International University of Art and Design, and it has become very successful. He has his business. He goes to a lot of different trade shows, and he's doing very, very well. So thank you all very much. We have a wonderful closing night tonight. I hope you all will be attending. We'd like to thank Donata Satario and the Esden Business School for their collaboration in helping us to create these master classes.